How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Steve from the 8BG, and you are watching the 8BG Cast. I am here with my co host.
What's up, guys?
That's the Sterlmeister right there, and we're the 8-bit generation, and this is the 8BG Cast. If you like this video and other videos on our channel, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and
Wait.
subscribe.
How are they gonna know they like it in the beginning? They just never
They're
mind.
gonna take. They're gonna just take a leap
Say
of
that
faith.
I would say if you like what we did today, they don't even know if they like. You tell them to like something before they even
Well, it's called a bookend. You tell them in the beginning, and then after that, tell them at the end, and boom, they'll never forget it. Ah,
coordinate.
yes. But thank you guys so much for joining us. We're excited to be here today, and there's a little something out there called Cyberpunk 2077, and
Not
it
sure
is,
about it.
yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. It made 8 million in one day. A little chump change. It's trying. CD Projekt Red, they're trying their best. But yeah, this game came out last Thursday, and me and Sterling has had the pleasure of playing it on our respective systems. Me on the PS5, and of course the PC Master Race, our representative over here. Um, so, what were your before we get to the kind of like the controversy of everything going on with CD Projekt Red? Actually, let's start with that first. If you don't know, uh, for the current gen consoles, or I should say last gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, uh, the games are pretty much almost unplayable for a lot of people. Where there's a lot of graphical glitches. Sometimes it's just like slowing down to a crawl. What other things have people complain about with the last gen systems regarding Cyberpunk?
I don't know. You should have played it so you could have found out.
Well, that's why we have the news. But it's
I
been
don't.
so.
I don't really know. I've heard it's just doesn't run well. Um, but I hear you have to see it to really believe that they released it. But you could watch videos and stuff, but I don't really know how bad it is. If it's that bad, you have to return it, then it must be pretty bad. But I can't say I haven't seen it, so I don't because sometimes, especially the way things are nowadays, people sometimes over complain. I don't maybe that's it. I don't think it. I think it was warranted by enough people that I don't. It's probably and they apologized for it, so
Yeah, they send
it's
out
probably
a.
bad enough. I want to see what it's like, but I don't
Mm,
have it. So.
yeah. I mean, it's been so bad that CD Projekt Red, the developers of the games, issued an apology on Twitter, stating that they mainly focused on the next gen consoles, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, and of course the PC. When playing the game, and they didn't really pay attention to the last gen. So maybe they kind of underestimated how many people will probably be playing the game
No,
with
I don't think
their.
they.
Or
I
just
don't
you
think.
think they just didn't care?
Yeah, I don't think. I think I think they focused. I think they cared about their main focus, which was the PC, and then they just kind of let the rest kind of sell itself. I mean, if it's that, this is a company that really doesn't have a deadline to work. They, when the game first launched, they said it'll be released when it's ready. That's literally didn't give a date. Said it'll be released when it's ready. It's a very ambitious game,
Very.
and I just don't think. I just think that they. I think what they ideally wanted to do was not have their game limited by last gen consoles. So they probably said, okay, we'll do the PC, and then that should be okay to port to. Well, no, we'll do the PC, and then we'll do the console versions from the PC build. Maybe they. I don't. It runs fine on PS5 or
Well,
whatever,
I
but
mean, considering that they've actually, let's just preface this too, also saying that the game has been development for about 7 years, I believe, right? 7, 8 years
yeah,
they've been developing the game. So this was something that has been a long time coming. But it's kind of surprising that they would put it out there in that state. You know what I mean? Like if it's not Like,
I mean, okay, if but this is I'm not. I think okay, 7 years when you like developing a game for 7 years, you're not developing it necessarily on a system. You're developing it always on a computer.
yeah, of
So
course, yeah.
so you can always add things to a computer and it'll still run fine because the computers are usually super powered or whatever. So it's the later part when you have to put it on a console and make sure it works fine. It's probably all finished. I don't know how game development really goes, but I'm pretty sure you finish it and then you kind of port it or whatever, or you make sure at least it works. You whatever your main platform is, you do that first, and then the rest. Then you pass it down to whatever, and it's
But
usually not always the main people.
but you know what's interesting about this though is that I'm playing on the PS5, but the version I'm playing is the PS4 version. You know, and those and the next gen, the technically next gen versions are not even out yet. I should say that as well. They're not even out there. So what's out there is just base PS4 and Xbox One versions. So if those are having issues, according to what people are saying, then that's kind of
What issues
well, they're
is it
saying
issues with performance or
they're
is it
saying it's
issues?
performance, graphics.
Because okay, yeah,
Mhm.
that's I don't think that's indicative of.
Or do you
I
think
think
it's
it's
just
still.
is this the symptom of being an open world game with
I
like
think
such
that's the
dense?
glitches. I think I refer to
Mhm.
when every open world game has glitches. When you play Red Dead 2, I've seen people fall through the floor and weird things happen. These games have so much going on that I think it's impossible. Even when The Witcher launched, The Witcher 3 and stuff, it had glitches. I had glitches where I couldn't call my horse or he'd be floating in midair or something. These things or the UI would get messed up or I couldn't do a mission because the character just wouldn't appear that was supposed to be there. There's
Mhm.
been like a lot of that. Like I'd be walking on the map and I'm like, the mission's supposed to be right here. Nothing. And then I'd
I
have
mean,
to reload.
I think as game players, I think everyone's kind of like used to seeing glitches, but no one's expecting a perfect game. You know what I mean? Like any game you
Yeah,
play
so
is gonna
why are
have a glitch
people
every once in a while. Now, if it's this much, then I'm curious to know. Okay,
this much
you
what?
know, this much, I guess hoopla about the issuing refunds and having the
But
statement.
the refunds are not for the refunds is literally I think on people who what I gather is people that have that have a PS5 or an Xbox One X aren't the ones requesting refunds. It's the people that have a PS4 or an Xbox specifically.
Exactly. And then these versions, these base games are PS4
But
and
the
Xbox One versions.
the issue is how they run on those consoles, not how they run on PS5. Like the reviews and stuff are like they literally did separate reviews on sites for the PS4 and for PS4 playing it and Xbox, not playing the game on a PS5 because it is a complete different experience. That's how bad the PS4 versions are. Like that's how bad the PS4 and the Xbox One versions are, and like things like things not loading on time and things. These new consoles use SSDs, which is something notoriously helpful when it comes to loading a huge open world. Now you got to load off a slow ass hard drive that the PS4 and the Xbox One have. That's obviously going to, that's going to cause issues. These systems are 7 or 8 years old or whatever by now.
Hmm.
That we're talking a game that's cutting edge next gen, really in terms of graphics and stuff. At least if you play it on PC, it looks gorgeous.
Hmm.
You have to cut that down to work on like pretending that's like working on a 7-year-old computer, and not even like a super fast because a 7-year-old computer would be you could still have a decent 7-year-old computer that can run this game, but consoles are not as good. So you imagine a base PS4 and an Xbox One, which was even weaker. The Xbox One had trouble running games like Red Dead, like they didn't run at a 30 frames all the time. So
Hmm.
you're taking a game that has this much detail and graphical fidelity and throwing it on an older system. Now, my idea is what they probably should have done is somewhere this would have probably what they probably should have. I know with the delays and stuff that they had, that people
Yeah.
they probably really should have just maybe canned those versions. I mean, people would have went bad shit crazy, but they already are. So
So
I
do you
mean,
think
they want
they were just better off calling the PS4 and Xbox One versions the PS5 and Xbox Series
no,
X
no, no,
versions?
because they're still because I think the upgrades that are coming to them, they should just maybe waited till that all was done. I mean, I get it that people were dying to have this game out, or another they couldn't take another delay, but it's almost like I think what's going on in terms of like what's similar happened to the Halo game, which I don't think is going to come out on Xbox One. I don't like people are pleading that they cancel that version just to make the next one because we all saw it wasn't good. But part of that to me is they were that game they showed now. I'm sure would actually work okay.
Well,
Maybe
let me ask you a question. In your experience playing Cyberpunk, did you see any crazy glitches?
No, that's what I didn't play enough. I played about an hour, maybe. So I started as the nomad, and so nothing. I've noticed no glitches. Now, granted, I also played after a patch, which might have helped too. There was a little patch that I played. I did that, and then there was, you know, when I play games on PC, especially for the first time, I mess around with the settings and make to get the best. So I'm playing it at 1440p. My rig gets about 60 frames using DLSS, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it looks incredible. Like I'm already like sometimes I'm just playing and I'm just looking around, but it's super smooth. Feels the controls are snappy right now. The dropping feels a little weird on mouse and keyboard. Feels like your car is always like
skating on ice.
Yeah. So I guess that's just something you gotta get used to. But it just reminds me of like in my head I'm like, wow, man, I almost wish Cyberpunk came out 5 years ago and then New Witcher would come out like with these kind of graphics. That's what I would love. Cause I'm not that big into futuristic like I am fantasy. I think I like fantasy worlds a little more than futuristic worlds. But I didn't gameplay wise, I didn't experience anything jarring. The training play was pretty cool with the escape scene in the beginning or whatever.
Sounds good. I mean, for me, in my experience, I didn't really. There hasn't been like a lot of crazy glitches. I think the kind of stuff that I've seen is stuff that you expect in open world games. The only thing that I've been experiencing that I've never really experienced with a lot of games is the amount of crashing that happens when I play the game. I've had the game crash on me about 5 to 6 times, and I played probably about maybe I'll say a good 6 or 7 hours probably of Cyberpunk, maybe 10 at max. But yeah, it's crashed on me multiple times. Most of the time when I'm streaming on, I believe either probably on Twitch, maybe that has something to do with it. Where when I stream it, it's just like you say the game.
Streaming it using PlayStation.
Oh yeah, PS5.
I mean, like with the you're not using a capture card to stream.
No. I'm using the system to stream it.
So that could be.
Yeah, so that could be it. And sometimes, and this has done it before where, I think maybe once or twice when I wasn't streaming. But after that, there wasn't anything crazy. Just maybe there was one time I was in the club. I told you about this where somebody was in their T pose, but that happens sometimes. Okay. Or the I guess there's like this screenshot that's circulating where they show like a player model that looks pretty much like unfinished polygon.
Now, have you seen that?
I've seen that once when I was coming out of my apartment, and then someone was walking by, and they just seemed like an unloaded.
Did they load in eventually?
I passed it because I was like, I mean, as a gamer, you kind of know this kind of stuff that sometimes it happens. So to me, it wasn't a big deal.
Every time I see that picture. They like people memed it already. I see it, but most people like I've seen it on IGN review, and I think that was a specific review for the PS4 version. So that probably happens more there, and I think that's all having to do with the load in and stuff like the SSDs load games so much faster, so you can, the world is always consistently loading stuff. You have slow ass hard drives in the last generation.
How's the loading when you play on PC? How's the loading time on there?
Like, it can't be. I wouldn't say it's probably as fast as I don't know how fast the PS5 is, but it shouldn't be any. But I know when I hit like into the menu, I'll tell you this: there's a big difference between this game loading and The Witcher. Witcher
Mm-hmm.
takes forever for some reason. It still takes a long time to load that game. In comparison to this game, it loads pretty fast. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I continue right into it. The Witcher usually has all these hints and stuff it tells you at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. And they tell you they used to mask the loading times by telling you like the story before you get in. And I don't know if they do that in Cyberpunk, but they used to.
Nah, I haven't seen that. I've seen actually actual loading screens where I think it's average time loading screens, like especially after certain cutscenes.
I,
That's where I mostly see loading screens. After usually like a story event or like one of those what do you call those events? Like those scripted scenes. Usually I find loading there when they're going between transitioning between different scenes. But it hasn't been anything that I can
yeah,
write home
but
about.
I don't. Like that's it. I don't have much to go on the
Mm-hmm.
game. The little I played, I'm excited just to play a little more. I've just been really busy. Um, it's the one thing I have the issue I have games like these in general is you sometimes The Witcher didn't click for me until I got maybe 7 or 8 hours in. I had to get deep into it, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just took over. It was like I just wanted to do everything. I wanted to explore. I felt like I was really in the world. The world was just I wanted to go here. I wanted to do this mission. And I know open world games like you have to get and you got to get sucked into it. Otherwise, you're just not. You're gonna kind of not get the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beginning parts always you got to learn the mechanics of the game. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, you're also not as powerful as you will be. So you're kind of very basic when you're doing combat, and so it can be a little derivative. I didn't do it yet, but like so far, obviously, all I can do is shoot and maybe hack things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, okay. But like in The Witcher, I could cast these little dinky spells in the beginning, and I had regular sword slashes. But once I got to a stronger level, and I was just more confident in exploring the world, it just became fun to actually just walk
Mm-hmm.
around and see. It didn't quest, I didn't matter. I saw something pretty and I wanted to go check it out. I saw a cave or someone came up to me out of nowhere with and I know that's gonna happen in this game where you just be walking the streets and I bet somebody like gonna find like in a Witcher. I'm not keep talking a Witcher, but CD Projekt Red made it right. That's what
Yeah.
made
Mm-hmm. That's
it.
apt
Witcher.
comparison.
One time I killed somebody or something,
Mm-hmm.
playing around, and later on, like his brother came after me just randomly. Like I was in town, and he said, and I'm sure it's some level of scripted to it, but it was a detail of something like I remember doing that, and holy shit! And I hear like this game has a lot of that, where it's a lot of you saw someone, you either helped them or didn't, or you looked at them or something, and it will all they all everything kind of it's a real kind of world where it's not like so scripted like oh you help this person this tree path and then you'll get
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's,
Like you know
it's
exactly
more
where it's gonna. Mhm.
yeah it's more organic I hear and if it's like The Witcher yeah you don't know how the choices you do are going to affect things in The Witcher like and I know they're going to just build on that in this game I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you think you might be going for the good ending, but you don't realize this person you helped might really be whatever, or it just
Or something that you missed. Mm-hmm.
something that you missed, or sometimes like in certain. This is what I like about certain games is sometimes you have to tell people no that you
Mm-hmm.
can't do something, and that's like if that might be the best way to actually go about a
Yeah.
situation. I ask you to do something and The Witcher was kind of like that. You couldn't just say yes to everybody and try to be the best guy. It
It's
just
like
never.
it really made you think. It's not like kind of like how Mass Effect. I don't know if you played Part One, but how Mass Effect was like you know exactly what you're picking. You're either really
Yeah, it's
really
like a
good or
green
you're really bad. So it's
green
like
or red, like Infamous
exactly.
game.
Hmm.
Yeah, choose this and you're a good guy, and do this, you're a bad guy. And it's like,
Exactly.
okay,
It's
cool,
like
I have a choice, but it's like, really, it's just good or bad. It's not like,
exactly.
should
Hmm.
I or shouldn't I? And I like The Witcher, like, and even this game, they have the same thing where you have time, choose something. You don't have all day, select certain options.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will play more, get a chance.
Hmm. Yeah,
Despite all this controversy, I think part of it is just it being a popular game. It was no way that there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh my god, this game's amazing," and there's a lot of people like, "Oh my god, glitches, this, and doesn't work on console." It's never. We were like past the age where the game is just going to get universal praise. It's just going to be. There's always going to be like, but this has been.
Honestly, I'm interested in seeing because I will eventually download it on PS4 before they patch it to kind of maybe experience all right what they were talking about. But maybe we live in a generation, maybe as alluding to what you were saying, maybe we live in a generation where the people who speak the loudest get the most attention. You know what I mean?
And there's too many. I think there's too many opinions, right? Like if you were to listen to a million people talk about something, you're gonna get a million opinions about it that are all gonna lean almost not a million different ways, but they're gonna lean so many different. Like used to be, you read a news outlet, but or whatever. It wasn't your next door neighbor talking about his experience playing the game. You usually had somebody who probably went to college and knows how to write. And I'm not saying that means that they're the only ones that can review, but I'm saying you have someone that this is their job or whatever, and they do it. Now you have everybody is telling you how about something is. Use Metacritic.
And then I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I think it could be good or bad because there could be things that, let's say, a quote-unquote professional reviewer may overlook, or maybe it's presented to him in a better capacity for him to review.
Oh, that's always,
a lot of times.
That's always how it's been. I mean, one of the best games, I think, like one of my favorite old games, Suikoden 2, for our, I looked at IGN review of it. Well, and it got like a 7.0. And you talking to people now, it's one of the best. It's held as one of the best RPGs ever made on PlayStation. And that, but a 7.0 doesn't reflect that. And I read the review and I was like, this is crap. Yeah, I get it. Like you're definitely gonna get more reviews, but you're gonna get. I think you're gonna get the same. It's something. I guess this is a game that is more divisive because you hear a lot of both sides. Where usually it's favorably one side, but then you'll still have the naysayers. But I think this game was projected as so big that, and maybe I don't know if it overpromised, but it definitely had so much hype going into it that this to me was expected. Like I knew it wasn't going to be like The Witcher 3 to me.
I mean, usually if it's something overhyped, usually you might have some where people say this game is not that great. I mean, so far I haven't heard.
I heard.
Huh?
Look at some of that's what I heard. Like if you look at the Metacritic for the game score,
I haven't read any of the reviews yet because I'm just trying to experience the game. But
I've taken a look, and just score wise, you have 9s over here. I've seen 7s. I've seen people say the game is stuck in. It's an open world next gen game, but the ideas are stuck in the past. One outlet was talking about, they let you choose your dick size, but you can't choose your whatever or something like
choose your weight because apparently your V can't be like overweight and things like that.
Something like that, I guess.
I mean, that is kind of.
But that's what I mean. Some people are looking into it for whatever they want to see that it doesn't do. That's fine.
They can voice their opinion on that.
But if you listen to too many opinions, you're always gonna find an opinion that is everywhere. Like you're gonna find people that love it. You're gonna find people that hate it.
I mean, for me, I would say this from my experience playing the game. Unlike you, like where you were more like the fantasy type of guy, like the fantasy type of setting, I actually really love futuristic settings and backdrops, and I really love the look of the game. It's like a futuristic 80s, kind of like retro futuristic look. So I think it's pretty dope. I've been having fun with the game a lot, and I think there's a certain part of the game that I'm not going to spoil, of course, where you get up to where the story kind of gets going, and oh yeah, maybe.
Everybody says, "Wait till you meet Keanu," and then it's like, "Oh my god."
I mean, I always say when you do meet Keanu, it is kind of a cool, way you meet him and everything. So that's all I'm going to say in that. But it's pretty dope, and he's great, voice actor, and he's very charismatic. He brings a lot of charisma to the role, because I know usually we're just like when we think of Keanu Reeves, you think about the '90s Keanu Reeves, everyone's like, whoa, blah 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 from Matrix, but now he's like this kind of like just kind of like I don't know if he's like a meme but he's like this like almost
He
like
is
a
kind of
living
living
saint. Hmm?
acting me at this point,
He's like acting meme,
Like,
but he's like also like a saint. Like people think he's like one of the greatest greatest men to walk the face of the earth. Like maybe
he's
like
kind of,
Christ, like
you know, I
they,
hear he's a good guy, and I think
yeah,
that just,
he's a good guy too.
he's like he's not like a Bruce Willis or something. Like you meet him now and he's a jerk. Like Keanu's probably like a guy that will give you like high five and sign your things. Or
Hey, Sterling,
you have
you're
some
pretty
actors that just won't. Like, I heard Bruce Willis is one of the worst people to work with. Like, it
cool.
was, I'll get this another time.
Yeah,
It was
but
literally a
yeah.
movie where he had his voice,
Mhm.
couldn't see one side of his ear because he had an earpiece in, reading him the lines for his, because he didn't feel like learning his lines for a movie.
Damn. Well, I'll talk about that later. But I'll say so far my experience has been pretty favorable with the game, and now that I'm kind of like really into the story,
How
it's
many
pretty cool.
hours,
Hmm?
how many hours are you into it?
I haven't counted, but I'll say maybe 7 to 10. I'm guessing.
And,
Um,
they say the main story is about 25, 30 maybe hours. But if
maybe.
I know, like, similar to The Witcher, you could probably spend 20 to 30 hours just not doing the main story and still be doing stuff.
Yeah,
That was
that's
one of the
actually
things I'll say. I don't know about this game, but one of the things that did happen to me in The Witcher, which was disappointing, was I did spend a lot of time doing all these other quests. And so by the time I was ready to do the main quest, I was so over.
Mhm.
And it was like an unnatural, like, I started looking, like, I didn't pay attention to the recommended levels, but I was like level 30 or 35. And the recommended levels for the mission when I started was like 11. So I just breezed through the whole thing. So I don't know if they maybe have something better way to balance that because
Well, I found myself like just kind of
what
like because
difficulty
the
did you
sto- hmm?
what difficulty did you choose?
Hard because it looked like that's what it was kind of
Yeah,
highlighting.
yeah. I think they want you to play hard.
Yeah, so I was playing on hard. And so my experience, like, when I was playing the game, it's sorry, I just blanked out for a second. I'm like, what was I gonna say? I was talking about the game, and then yeah, so the story is pretty dope once you go with Keanu. And here's the thing I wanted to say. I was so into the story that I kind of forgot to roam around. And that's one thing I have to do now because I feel like I have to start roaming around, getting to see different missions and do different things because the story is kind of pretty cool. So it's kind of easy just to be on that path. But I think now I'm gonna try to branch out and do things and extra missions to see the world and kind of like get used to the gameplay. Because as you mentioned before,
We'll get some good.
when you play a open world game in the beginning it's like kind of like a huge tutorial, like a couple of hours tutorial where you're just
Yeah,
trying to get used to the world, trying to get used to certain things, like even the hacking mini game. I'm trying to learn it, but it's just one of the things where I'm just like I'm gonna probably just guess it until one day it'll click and I'll
yeah,
be like, oh, okay, I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
right.
you know um but yeah, so far it's been so good. What were you gonna say?
No.
Yeah.
I want to play more of it.
And we'll definitely reconvene, in terms of like
Yeah,
talking
once
about
we
the
do
game.
more of it, we can
Mhm.
talk about specific and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I definitely
See if
do
our
hope.
opinions change too.
Oh, that's true. I know, but something that's interesting. I know when you played the game, I remember you said that this is not better than The Witcher. Like when I was streaming the game, you
Oh,
commented on that. So what
yeah.
was your feeling on that? Like what like how were you
Um.
feeling?
Well, I'm just a Witcher fanboy. So even though it's the same company, I think I think The Witcher 3 is pure masterpiece. There's just I can't say anything more about it. I just think it's good. And like I don't even think The Witcher 4 whenever it comes because it's gonna come
Mhm.
something. It will, even though Geralt they say the story's ended or whatever. But The Witcher. I don't something about the way that game grabbed me. And I played like The Witcher 2 and stuff. And something about The Witcher 3 hit every note about a world and being in a world. Like literally role playing. I'm not myself in this world. I get that.
Mhm.
but I'm literally playing Geralt, and I'm controlling this character in this world. And
So you don't feel like that with this character over here in Cyberpunk? You don't feel like that at all?
Well, part of the in Cyberpunk is that you create more of how he looks and everything. You get his origin. Witcher 3, you don't have a choice. This is Geralt from who's done previous adventures and things like that. You have a backstory. This not saying this character doesn't, but they made it more so that you are this character role playing thing. Even though this character kind of has his own personality and stuff, choices and stuff, which is very Geralt-like, I think, in some way when I was playing it. But or Geralt, it's Geralt. But there's something about I felt like I am a Witcher. Like there was a point, and I just felt something. It's a rare connection you make with a game at times, and that there was missions where you would just be getting drunk with your friends, and they do weird. It's just some stuff like that. I'm like, I felt
so pretty much as of right now, it's just Witcher over here and Cyberpunk right here, and so
Witcher over here and every other game. That's how I feel. Like, and it's kind of crazy because it's a game. I haven't even 100% Witcher, but I still go back in there and I'll play it and I'll do like a mission and I'll just be like, I haven't fully played it because I don't want it to like be a point where I'm like, I don't have a reason.
Like it.
I always have a reason to come back to The Witcher. Like I still have, I beat most of the DLC. It's just a little part of the second DLC. I think I'm like at the end, so I'm just tackling missions and nothing grand to do anymore. But I was still jumping that game just to explore.
All right. So before we wrap up the podcast, let me ask you one more question. Is there any more thoughts on like the whole controversy with the graphics, or you just think that those are just?
No, I think it's a real deal. I think people have valid complaints. If it's not a few people, like if they issued an apology, it had to be bad. And that's on their part. I think this project was huge. It cost a lot of money. It looked like a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into it.
Oh yeah.
You can tell there's a way it was meant to be played, and I think it's primarily a higher end PC than mine. It's, I have a 2070, but it's probably meant 3080. Like that's not the highest end, but
speaking of something, I just wanted to bring up something real quick. I was playing the game, and I invited my dad over to come watch me play and everything, right? Yeah. So as I'm playing the game, my dad's watching me play this game and go through the missions. And can you believe we sat on the couch for like about 2 hours, watching, and he didn't realize how much time has passed because he was just so immersed in the story and the world and what's going on, and and the game has a great look. And it's easy to show people. Like one of those games, like if you're looking for a game to show out to people or your friends or family, who are not really gamers, so they don't really pay attention to it. This is one of the games that you want to show to really like kind of blow their mind.
That's how much detail it is. It's not just shooting guys. It's like, oh my, this is a world that probably seems very organic. And I'll say it to a point. That's to me how The Witcher felt. It just doesn't look. It's just that it takes place. Like you'll automatically think, fantasy. So I know there's like maybe a dragon here.
I always feel like those games have a harder time capturing people's like.
If you're not into fantasy, that's like some people wouldn't watch Game of Thrones because they just said it's fantasy, and I don't, I'm not into Lord of the Rings.
You need something more modern.
Right,
My dad's the same way. Like he's the type of person like he'll watch like a real movie, like maybe I want to say when I say real movie, like a more like a realistic portrayal, like maybe like Scarface compared to like a fantasy movie. If it's like a fantasy movie, his mind is just like this is
because you already kind of know this is not real or whatever. It's something it's magic and it's not so there's a disconnect.
I mean, I'll say this for Cyberpunk 2077. Am I saying it right? 2077. Yeah. I always feel like I'm like 2077. I don't know. It sounds weird. I don't know.
Don't say 2020, right? For a year.
Yeah, I say so. Let's say 2020.
No, who says 2020?
Maybe somebody.
No. What year are we in? Ask anybody. 2020. Say 2020. 2020 is the year. 2020. Okay.
But yeah, hopefully, they fix the stuff, and people can enjoy, and it's still a great game though. I'm having fun, and
Yeah, let's reconvene after I get a little more in, and you'll get a little more in. I'm sure I'll run into bugs by then. See if I'm like, maybe Witcher will take a backseat. Maybe I'll get, because I'm ready to get involved in the game. I haven't really been involved in seeing.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while since I've been absorbing the game like that, but I think Cyberpunk is doing it. But let's wrap this up. If you guys are listening and you've played Cyberpunk, let us know how you feel about the controversy, the game. What do you feel about either one? And let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed this show and others on the channel, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. This is Steve from the 8BG.
You close your eyes like you had to think about what seriously.
Is my eyes closed? I think my eyes open.
No, you went like, we'll watch it on the replay. You'll be like, thank you, like, and subscribe.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It just looks like.
Oh, maybe it's, I don't know. All right, man.
All right. Yeah, like and subscribe, guys.
Boom.
All right. Later.